SCP-273 Item SCP-273 Object Class Euclid Special Containment Procedures SCP-273 is held in an enclosure 5M as 10M in a size half of which is closed off for the subject's privacy. All major structural and facing materials of the cell are fireproof and non-thermally conductive materials. A bed roll, and other modest furnishing are allowed, provided they remain in the private section, and that all consumption of food be performed in the adequate area. All windows from the observation room into the enclosure are composed of heat-treated glass of at least 1 centimeter total thickness with an insulated gap in between. Heat and infrared sensors in both enclosure and observation are set to produce an alarm if any temperature exceeds 15 degrees Celsius. Observing staff are required to evacuate the room in such an event. Food in the form of raw meat must be provided every 12 hours for consumption, at least 2.5 kg per feeding. Other food may be provided at SCP-273's request, provided good behavior continues. All clothing provided to SCP-273 must be either flame resistant in nature or be of inexpensive make and fabrics. SCP-273 is not to be interacted with in person if it has not consumed a meal of raw meat of at least 2.5 kg mass within the last 12 hours. In light of Incident 273-02, alcoholic beverages in excess of 15% of alcoholic by volume must not be provided to SCP-273, nor should any other flame accelerates be provided. All staff interacting with SCP-273 must be armed with non-lethal defense measures. Lethal force should not be used. Description: SCP-273 resembles a middle-aged woman of Indian descent. DNA samples and medical tests indicate SCP-273 conforms to human normal in all other respects. Despite the subject abnormalities, SCP-273 feels no need to eat or drink, but is perfectly capable of doing so. SCP-273 has generally shown willing compliance and cooperation with the Foundation containment and request. SCP-273, from what it describes, has hunger, which requires regular feeding every 12 hours. This hunger satiates itself through a form of remote combustion. This proceeds no visible flame, instead oxidizing the subject from the outside until reduced to a fine white ash. Metals are not consumed except under special circumstances. See Incident Report 273-03. When tested, the human demonstrates a preference for meat over other organic matter, especially live human subjects. SCP-2073 exhibits no signs of conscious control over its satiation and becomes upset upon consuming live animals. In response to testing with D-class personnel, SCP-273 screamed at the obese into the corner of its pit enclosure and refused to enter the front partition for 12 hours. Addendum 273-01. In the events of SCP-273, the body becomes center of a large conflagration marked by a central pillar of approximately 1 meter in width and extending upwards. After the initial flames subside, all that remains of SCP-273 body is a pile of white ash with a corona of faint blue flame. The flame is not extinguishable through oxidation and requires no fuel. And then Over the course of several hours, SCP-273 body slowly reforms from the ash pile by consuming any source of raw material nearby, including the surrounding air. In this state, slow consumption of inorganic material has been observed. The new body resembles the old in all ways, with no sign of injury or illness. When SCP-273 body is completely reformed, it awakens with no memory of events after its recent death. Incident Report 273-01. Date. Location. The Foundation received reports of a thin pillar of flame exceeding 17 m in height and resulting from wildfires witnessed in the vicinity of, due to the anomalous shape and duration of the flame. A small MTF mobile task force was dispatched to the location. Bodies of two deceased Caucasians, one male and one female, were found at the origin of the flame. A small were found at the point of the origin of the fires. Cause of death was later determined to be a severe third-degree burns. SCP-273 was found shortly thereafter after unclothed and covered in white ash, standing over a deep carcass, which radiated anomalous amount of heat. Carcass crumbled to ash and coals at touch. SCP-273 was cooperative at this juncture and followed the task force out. SCP-273 was then transferred to site for evaluation and containment. Partial transcript of interview with SCP-273. Interview Dr. Forward. Forward. SCP-273 has been obtained a day prior and introduced to the temporary holding cell inside a video camera situated behind Dr. Provided visual records of the interview. SCP-273. You are saying then that I will be kept safe here, away from people. Yes, 273. Thank you. And by my name is. You may use that instead. Noted. Pause. What was the first thing you remember from when you were young? I woke up surrounded by flame and covered in ash. It was the first time I think. You remember nothing else from before that? How long ago was this? How old were you? Is it not proper to only ask only one question, please, at a time? Answer the question, please. I don't. It was a very long time ago, probably. How old were you? 30 years, that much I remember, and I think I had made some great mistake. Perhaps that is why I am what I am now. Hello, Doctor. What are you now? SCP-273. A demon. No, the preceding interview transcript omits 3 minutes and 7 seconds from the beginning and all part onto the last line for a reason. The level 3 clearance or higher is required for access to the original recordings. Note that SCP-273 and the form were omitted fragment to involuntarily killing the two deceased subject found near her point of extraction. SCP-73 also identifies the victim as old friends. Staff members working with observing SCP-273 had to be reminded of this fact and of procedure of working with humanoid SCPs in general. Doctor. Incident Report 273-02. Date, location, site, agents, and enter the enclosure of SCP-273 with intent to question regarding. SCP-273 had earlier been granted a bottle of Barcade 151 for personal use by Agent had been 12 hours and 37 minutes since the last scheduled feeding. Upon the agent entry, SCP-273 decorated they leave. When they did not at first, SCP-273 became agitated, shouting at them again, entering frantically less than 1 second after they secured the door. A pot of bark that was observed to extreme damages to SCP-273 enclosure and observable due to influence of unprecedented string. Recorded temperature exceeded degrees Celsius. Agent deaths will be handled as per normal procedures. As agent is still in recovery as of this writing. SCP-273 ashes has been contained in an airtight and fireproof safe. This damaged enclosure is to be prepared for future use in containing other SCPs. Incident Report 273-03. Date. Location. Site. A fireproof safe was found to be ineffective in containing SCP-273. Severe corrosion damage to the interior and hinge of the safe led to breach of containment, followed by the resumed revival of SCP-273. 3 kg of raw pork was left in the room with the door secured. Upon awakening, the SCP-273 appeared disoriented, but consumed the offering meal as expected. SCP-273 then requested to return to its original containment. As said, enclosure has since then been repaired. This request will be carried out immediately. Addendum 273-03-2. SCP-273 activity has changed drastically since the death of it. It rarely leaves the private partition of its enclosure except to feed and refuse to speak. Surveillance shows that SCP-273 rarely moves when it's on its own, either sleeping or sitting against one wall. It shows classic signs of depression, despite having no prior indication of such condition, recommending close observation for any additional changes in behavior.